Hi, everybody. So today's very exciting. Today's my 2023 entry in Did the Right Film Win? And this is where I look at the animated Oscars every year and the nominees and see if I think the Academy chose the correct winner. And I have done videos on every single year that the award has been present and in contention and for Best Animated Feature Film. And so you can check out the playlist for all of those videos. Plus, I did a couple hypothetical years if the award had been in contention, what would be nominated and what I think would win. So those are a lot of fun. So definitely check that out. I feel like I've talked a lot about the animated Oscars this year. So this video might not be as long as some of my other ones because I don't know, I just feel like I've said everything so many times about these films. But if you want to hear even more, you can check out my live stream I did with Animat, where we talked about not only the animated feature films, but we talked about the shorts as well. This was before the awards had taken place. So you definitely want to check out that video. It was a lot of fun. But today, let's talk about the 5 nominees for Best Animated Feature Film and did I think the right film won. Let's start with Turning Red. I feel like I've talked a lot about Turning Red this channel, and so everybody kind of knows my issues with the film. I didn't like the mother character. I thought she was really over the top and cringe, and I also thought the metaphor was sloppy and not executed very well. But there are some good things. So let's just talk about some of the good things of Turning Red. I really did enjoy the animation style with the anime kind of effect to it. I thought the boy band songs were fun and I enjoyed that. I thought there were some cute moments and I overall liked the design of the panda. So that was fun. And yeah, not my favorite movie. I think they needed more work on the script to get it there, but I appreciate the ambition and what they were trying to do. And I like the diversity, so that's good. But it would not have been one of my nominees for 5 best animated films of 2022. But there we go. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it, so that's great. Then next we have The Sea Beast, and this is one of those films that just kind of went away from me. I missed it when it first came out, and I just hadn't caught up for it. So once it got nominated, I finally was like, okay, I got to see this, and I really enjoyed it. I particularly loved the relationship between Maisie and the sailor. I thought that that kind of father-daughter sort of dynamic that they had was really sweet, and you don't see it as much in these kinds of animated films as with a girl and a father-daughter dynamic. You don't see as much. I just really enjoyed that. The animation I thought was beautiful. I'm a big sucker for water and the ocean, and I thought it was beautifully animated. And I also I thought it was overall like a fun adventure. I mean, a lot of people complain that's too derivative, it's too much like How to Train Your Dragon, but like in fairness, I mean, we've been telling boy and their dog, boy and their creature, whatever stories going all the way, I mean, back to the very beginning of silent film. So it's not like How to Train Your Dragon invented this idea. I mean, you could even talk about E.T., and there's just so many movies that have that basic structure of the creature, a child finding the creature and the dynamic. So I'm not too hard on it for that part, but I think it was executed pretty well. The action was fun, and I don't know, I thought it was an enjoyable. I think The Bad Guys is still better. I would, or Little Nicholas, I would have put that higher, but I still overall enjoyed The Sea Beast. I thought it was sweet. Then we have Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, and this was from A24, and it was based on there was the YouTube videos of Marcel the Shell, but it took them a decade to make this movie. So much that Jenny Slate and Dean, so much that the creators were married and gotten divorced during the course of the film. So I think you can see that element actually in the film. You can see there's the marital discord plot in the film. You can see, but I love this movie. I thought that Marcel was such an endearing, lovely character. I really just loved Jenny Slate's vocal performance as Marcel. I really liked how creative they were with all the different ways that he's getting around and he's doing things. I thought it had a little bit of sass to it, which made me laugh in the script. I loved the character design, so unique and so sweet. And some people had issues like, is this an animated film? Because there are some live action components, but actually, a lot of the things that you think are live action are actually a stop motion background. So they submitted it a special exception, and they did get, they first weren't going to, and then they got accepted, which I'm really glad, because I think it was definitely an animated film. Just almost every scene has animated characters in it, has an animated story. It's the full focus of the movie is on Marcel, animated character, and his journey. And I just loved his story of trying to find his family and his relationship with grandma. I thought was so sweet and funny and endearing. I just absolutely love this movie. It was my second favorite, or co number one of the year. And I am so glad that it got nominated, and I think it was heartwarming and just really, really funny and enjoyable. So it was one of my favorites of the year, like I said. So then we have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and I cannot overstate how much of a surprise this movie was. I was not really looking forward to it. DreamWorks had a terrible 2021, and this sequel to a franchise that I'm not really that big a fan of. As far as Shrek, I'm like casual fan at best. And I liked the first movie fine, but I didn't love it, and so there was just like hardly any reason to get excited. And I just admire them so much, because there's so much in this world that takes the easy way out, that takes the shortest, cheapest, easiest way to get a project done. And that's not what they did here. They absolutely elevated this material, made it way better than it had any right to be, as far in every way. The animation is absolutely stunning. The first 20 minutes blew my mind. I think it's some of the best animation I have ever seen. That scene coming over the rooftops, the fights at the beginning with the giant monster, I was blown away by that. I mean, some people have said, oh, well, it doesn't work with the existing animation for Shrek. That's a valid, I guess, complaint, but it didn't bother me. I guess maybe because I'm not that invested in the Shrek universe, so I was fine with it. I really loved the story, how he's confronting death, and he's got one life left, and I think that that had something to kind of say about how we use our time. And it was great, great vocal performances by all involved, and the villains were so excellent. Loved Goldilocks and the Bears. I thought that was really endearing and lovely. Her coming to realize that she actually does have a family. And then you have Jack Horner, who's sort of the more over the top villain, and he was a lot of fun. I love John Mulaney's performance in that role. And maybe I could have even used more of Death and less of him, but I still overall really enjoyed the sniveling nature of the role. This is just complete selfish jerk. It was good. It was really good. And then we had Death as a villain, this wolf, which was so great. I absolutely loved this character. The music that they used, his cue, was so chilling and effective. And it's been so long since we had a really scary villain in an animated film, so it was very refreshing. I loved the whole plot of that everybody sees different things on this map depending on how you've lived your life. And I loved how Puss in Boots was thinking about what had he done with his life and how had he used his life. And that was very effective. I think worked really well. With Kitty Softpaws and their dynamic and forgiving each other was lovely. And I loved Perito, such an adorable character, funny, endearing, lovely, great. And I thought this movie was absolutely outstanding. One of my favorite animated films of the last decade, for sure, maybe all time. I was just so impressed by it in every way. Every time I've seen it again, I've been blown away again. And maybe people think, oh, you're overhyping it, but that's just how I feel. I felt so impressed with them that they made something so impressive, so beautiful, so stunning. It is raised the bar for studio animated franchise films, and I'm so excited to see how people, including DreamWorks, how studios bounce out off of this and what we're going to see and how it's pushing the entire medium of animation to be better. And that's how I feel. So I absolutely loved Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It was my favorite movie of 2022, and I felt kind of bold in saying that in December of 2022. But I really did feel that was my favorite. It gave me new faith in studio movies. It gave me new faith in animated films. I had disliked so many of the Oscar contenders. So when this came on, it just was so exciting for me. I absolutely loved it. So then we have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And I loved so much about this movie. I had it in my top 10 of the year. It is some of the most impressive stop motion animation I have ever seen. Absolutely stunning. And I love the character design of Pinocchio. I like the fact that they had a new design, that they really tried to make this their own and their own style and their own story, which I really appreciated. I also appreciate like how much this tried to take on as far as themes of death and loss and grief and parenting and forgiveness and war and religion. It really did try to tackle a lot. And I think for the most part, it did a really good job with those themes and addressing those themes. I also really enjoyed the music. I thought it was very sweet. And I wasn't expecting it to be a musical. And you know how much I love musicals. So when there was like that, a number of songs, that actually surprised me. I didn't see that coming. But Ciao Papa is just so adorable. And I think the most devastating moment of the movie was when Geppetto says that Pinocchio's a burden. And that is just brutal. And I think that all parents like feel that from time to time, but they just don't say it. But that's how low of a position that Geppetto was in. And one of the things that I think all teenagers, particularly, come to realize is that your parents are flawed. Your parents are just trying to figure it out every day. And this is what Pinocchio learns about Geppetto. And by the end of the movie, he's come to forgive Geppetto for saying he was a burden. And so it's a very moving journey that Pinocchio and Geppetto both have. And I think that works really well. I love Tilda Swinton as this wood sprite. I love the design of the wood sprite. I think she looks really just bright and colorful and unique. And she is in many ways similar to the wolf in Puss in Boots because she's kind of regulating who comes in and out of death, and that dynamic of whether Pinocchio deserves another chance, and especially when you have war involved and death, and so I think that she was a very interesting character. The only thing that I would have done differently as far as this Pinocchio is that I would have maybe cut down a little bit the war section, the war training camp section. I think it's effective, but I just think it's a little too long and it drags. It gets a little boring. In that, I would just make that a little tighter. But other than that, I thought it was exciting. I thought the adventure was great. As far as Monstro, I thought that was really well done. I mean, it was so much better than the other Pinocchios that we had as far as execution and heart and story and animation and just everything else. So that was great. And I'm really excited to see what comes next from Guillermo del Toro, what we keep seeing, because it was a joy to see him during this whole Oscar season defend animation. Animation is cinema. It should go without saying, but it needs to be said absolutely. And even though I would not have picked Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio for my number one spot, I would have picked The Last Wish or Marcel, but I did have it in my top 10. I do love the movie. I think it was beautiful. And so even though it wouldn't have been in my top spot, because he was such a great ambassador and it was such a beautiful film, I have no problem with the fact that Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio won the Oscar this year. I think it was definitely deserved and a beautiful film. And I was just so happy to see him being this ambassador to animation. And I can't wait to see what he does next. So it was a pretty strong group of nominees, I would say. So let me know what you think. What would be your pick for the animated Oscar 2023? Make sure you check out playlist with all my other videos on this topic for each year. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of those. And please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. And we also have the Patreon group and merch store. You can get hashtag Animation Junkie shirts on the merch store. And so thanks so much to all that support. And the Patreon is the best way that you can support me. And it means a lot. And it's only a few dollars, and you get great benefits of weekly reviews exclusive to the patron. You get the watch alongs, Q&As. It's a really wonderful experience. So definitely please check out the Patreon. And thanks again for watching this video, and for all your support. And we'll look forward to see what 2023 brings us in animated films. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.